Good morning. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. My name is Shagorika. I'm from India. I'm a digital marketing specialist. I'm a brand strategist. I've had the most interesting morning. I haven't understood a word of what anyone's presented, right? But it's really funny. So here's what I did. I observed all of you, and I saw who laughed, and I saw how much attention you were paying. And that's how I realized which speakers you liked and which speakers you didn't like. And that brings me, so you know who I'll be talking to during lunch. I need, is that one? All right, yeah. And that brings me to my presentation for you today. And it's an important one. It's the rise in need for marketing your consumers can trust. Now, I think what's happening to all of us as business leaders or students who are going to be tomorrow's business leaders, we're very focused on short-term business targets, right? And I think by doing that, we willfully neglect the brand and business impact that trust really has. But if you want to be relevant to consumers today, and a lot of people before me have spoken about this, brands need to have purpose, they need to be transparent, and they need to be trustworthy. And that's the topic that I want to speak to you about today. When you think about it, it's so obvious. Of course, businesses should focus on trust. What else should they focus on? People buy more when they trust the people they buy from. That's just how we do commerce. But in today's disruptive world, trust is a very, very hard commodity. Trust is elusive, and it's very hard to find consumers, stakeholders, and even Google algorithms to trust you. And the reason why trust is so elusive is because three fundamental shifts have happened which have made trust such a difficult thing for brands and businesses to really obtain. The first is this. Some people call it the network economy, the gig economy, collaborative economy, whatever word you want to call it, yeah, whatever moniker we call it. It's changed everything. It's changed everything, it's changed everyone, and it affects every single person in this room today. And what it's done is it's changed the way we think of convenience, the way we think of price, the way we think of brands, and the way we think of consuming these brands. And the effect that it has on trust is really fundamental. You see, before the collaborative economy, all of us depended on institutions. We depended on companies to fulfill our needs and aspirations. Who needs companies now, right? We all depend on each other. We get what we need from each other. We share our homes, we share our cars, and we share our financial information with absolute strangers. And we love it. And why do we love it? The reason we do is that the collaborative economy touches something which is very fundamental to human beings. It promises you commerce with human connection, where transaction has emotion and transaction is a personalized human experience. The second thing is, why do you trust strangers in the first place, right? Why would you let someone into your house through Airbnb? Why would you share an Uber through Uber Pool? The guy could be a serial killer for all you know. There's a reason we do it. It's very simple. We've codified trust. We've got ratings and reviews which tell us if people today are trustworthy. If I have a 5-star review next to my name and enough of them, you will trust me even though we've never met before in our lives. And that's amazing. Now imagine what happens to brands who sit outside the collaborative economy. We have exactly the same expectations of them. We expect them to give us meaningful, personalized experiences, and we expect them to be peer recommended. And when they're not, trust is eroded and it's transferred elsewhere. That's what I look like all day, and I bet all of you do too, right? So, each speaker here has been allocated 30 minutes. So let me tell you what's happening online while we're all here. There's 72 million Google searches. There are 83.4 million YouTube videos being watched, 15.8 million snaps, 10.4 million tweets, and 4,300 emails. That's what's happening in the 30 minutes that you're going to hear me talk. Each and every one of us gets exposed to 5,000 advertising messages, and that's not including social media. We are physically incapable of dealing with the velocity of content that we have today. And for those of you who produce content, who are from companies which invest a lot in content marketing, research shows that 77% of the content that we produce today has zero economic value. It's not shared and it's not consumed. That means people simply don't care. And this has a very obvious impact on trust. If I want to get your trust, which is what I hope to get today, the first thing I must do is get your attention. If I don't get your attention, I don't get your trust. Attention is difficult because this is what we all feel like every day. Attention is scarce because it doesn't scale, right? So what do we do as marketers? We buy attention through advertising. We try to steal attention through gimmicks and virality and through other interesting things, right? We try to growth hack our way. But that works for precisely 1 second, because guess who we're competing with? We're competing with the Kardashians. We're competing with all sorts of, I don't know what reality TV works here. We're competing with some crazy stuff for attention. And if you can't buy your attention from consumers anymore. The truth is today, you have to earn attention to get dollars, influence, and trust. Marketers are very smart people, and companies are worth trillions of dollars. So you would imagine that all of us clever people would have come up with a really great solution to deal with the challenges and opportunities that the collaborative economy and content shock presents us. So what did all of us really clever people do? As a response, we decided to stalk consumers. We didn't add value, we simply decided to stalk them. We decided to spam them with lots of content. We decided to follow them around and target them, almost to the point of violating their privacy. And that doesn't work. It doesn't work because you can't create trust when you're constantly thinking of manipulating, measuring your customer to buy from you. Real trust is not bought by stalking consumers. Real trust is bought when it's earned. I found a really interesting video. It's a commercial by Adobe, and it'll demonstrate to you what advertisers, today's advertisers, look like to consumers. From here.
Oh, God. Okay, oh, it bit me. Oh, my God, it bit me. Hang on. I know medical website. I can feel my foot. All right, it's loading. Oh, I got a pop-up ad. I hate pop-up ads. But I don't know how to close it because they always hide the X on these things. These kids, too. Oh, they're making me sign up for their newsletter. Oh, that's great. Like, communicating thing. Yeah? Yeah. No! No, I don't want to download your app. That's what I went to the website for. Rate my experience so far. 1 star. Hang on. 15 more seconds and I can skip this ad. Oh, look. Super lightly. Well, love it.
Sounds familiar? We're really clever people. Think about it. The very people you're marketing to is you and me. We're very clever people. When we are consumers, we expect marketers to earn our attention, to be helpful, to add value before we give them our dollars. But we behave as marketers, as the very marketers we reject as consumers. And that's the problem with marketing today. But I think the real problem is that trust is a very hard thing to do. Okay? Trust is very hard to earn. And the reason trust is very hard to earn is that trust is not about what I say, it's about what I do. It's very much about behavior. And behavior in an organization is hard. It's fragile and it's complicated, and it's often counterintuitive because trust doesn't live in the things that you say. Trust lives in social media. If trust lives in the world of social media, that means it comes with no guarantees. And therefore, it becomes a very fiddly, fickle thing for us to deliver. So the question that I get asked often when I consult with different companies is that, does it really matter? Does it matter to my bottom line? Am I going to get more customers? Am I going to be a better, more valuable company for it? So is there a business case for trust? The simple answer is yes. Let me show you an infographic I put together for you guys. 68% of people are more likely to buy a brand if it's trusted. Equally, 48% are less likely to buy a brand if it's not trusted. And isn't that amazing? But there's nothing that demonstrates the business case for trust better than an example. And my favorite example is this one, United Breaks Guitars. If some of you are familiar with it, please allow me to explain it to some who. Is everyone familiar with the United Breaks Guitars? Show of hands. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to tell you quite quickly what it is. In 2011, there was a guy called David Carroll, Canadian guy. He took a flight. When his flight landed in Nebraska, he saw that United Airlines broke his guitar. For the next 9 months, he wrote to everyone in United Airlines, from the customer service executive to the CEO, and said, hey, you guys broke my guitar. That's not okay. I'm your customer. They said, we don't care. Sorry. So here's what he did. He's a singer-songwriter. He wrote a song about it. That song got 15 million views on YouTube. It went viral globally. Every big media outlet in the world picked it up. And that is the loss that their shareholders had, $180 million. All because they lost a single customer's trust. And that is the power of social media, and that's the power of trust that is broken. So hopefully I've sold you on the case of being a trusted marketing practitioner. So what should a trusted marketing practitioner be doing in today's economy? I have a definition. I'd love to share it with you. And post this presentation, I would love to hear back from all of you guys what you think. Let me share it with you. For me, this is what trusted marketing does. When it is marketing behavior that allows you to earn more time and more meaningful moments with your audience. Essentially, marketing should deliver 3 things in today's world. The first, it should not be about marketing rhetoric. It should be about actions and the experiences that you create for your consumers. The second, it is not enough to spend time growth hacking. It is time to earn the attention of our consumers. And the third, you have to make the moments you share with your consumers count. Every moment has to be meaningful, and to be meaningful, consumers and brands have to ask themselves what transaction value they get from each other. This is where I believe marketing is going, and brands who perform to this sort of marketing behavior will do well. The others, in my opinion, will fall by the wayside. I work a lot in trying to get brands to understand this and implement this. And everyone wants to hear what else everyone else has done, right? We all want to hear great case studies and make those work. So that's what I've put together for you guys. I've looked at 4 ways in which I believe brands today can earn the trust of their consumers. There's a 5th way, which I believe is going to be very powerful within the next 18 to 24 months, and that is employee advocacy. I do believe that employee advocacy is in early stages, so I haven't included it here. But these 4 ways of building trust are really significant, and progressive brands from across the world are following this. My examples for you today are Asian. I'm Indian, Asian, and I tend to work in that market, so that's why I thought those examples would be interesting for you. The first most definitive way to build trust is real life utility. All of us as consumers have real, genuine problems that we want solved. And that's what customer centricity is. Help a customer solve his problem in the most seamless, painless way possible. And for that, he will reward you with his attention, he will reward you with his business, and he will reward you with his trust. And when brands proactively design those solutions, it becomes a very, very powerful thing. And I'm going to show you an example which I absolutely love from Singapore. So this is my first example. It's from a brand called Mini. As any automobile brand managers, marketing guys in the room? Okay. But we've all bought a car, right? So As an auto brand, the first thing you want is you want people to go and test drive your car. When is the best time to get someone to test drive your car? When consumers need you the most. So I'm going to show you how Mini did it. Actually, I'm going to ask for your help. Oh, that's...
With a unique go-kart feel, driving a Mini is addictive, which is why drivers who test drive are more likely to buy one. But how do we get them to do a test drive in the first place? We decided to target drivers in need when the cars break down. Mini Retow You Drive. We partnered with a tow service company and responded to breakdown calls in real time throughout Singapore. When tow trucks picked up the cars, drivers drove off to wherever they needed to go.
Initially, I was very shocked. I thought like it's something that you have to pay for. So when I knew that there is this scheme, I thought it was actually pretty good and very innovative.
I think Retow You Drive is an excellent experience and an idea because especially people in distress and need, and you guys came to save the day. I think it was a wonderful experience.
Isn't that so cool? Your car breaks down and Mini comes and says, hey, test drive my car. The second example I have for you is from Sri Lanka. There's a company called AIA. It's an insurance company. And they were entering the Sri Lankan market. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to find a way to very quickly connect with local communities, local culture, and build goodwill. So here's what they did.
Most Sri Lankans are Buddhist, and during the month of May, celebrate Vesak, the holiest day of the year. During Vesak, Sri Lankans from all walks of life visit their local temple. From dusk till dawn, they follow religious observances where they sit and kneel on the ground. To protect themselves, they use a piece of newsprint as their floor cover, but the ink often stains their traditional white clothes. This gave us an idea. Instead of printing an ad commemorating Vesak as companies normally do, AIA would run a blank ad and give people a clean space to pray and find hope by giving a newspaper mat. AIA's Space to Pray ad was published a day before Vesak. The ad was completely blank and free of ink except for a Buddhist-inspired border and a small but heartfelt message that encouraged Sri Lankans to take the ad to temple and use it to honor the day.
You know what's really cool? You know what's really cool? I'm showing you examples from Asia, from cultures which are not familiar to you, but the language of this communication, the language is so universal that it appeals to you as human beings. And I love that. And that brings me to the second point that I have. How do you build trust? Who likes greedy corporations? No one, right? We like human beings. We like companies that are not focused only on the bottom line. And all sorts of research tells you that we want to buy organic, sustainable, we want brands with purpose, etc., etc. And that's really important. If you, as a company, want customers to care about you, you need to start by caring about your customers, right? And that means your employees, your stakeholders, and every single person that you come across. And here's an example of a company that does this really well. This is a company called Grab Taxi, right? So Grab Taxi is like Uber or Lyft. It's a taxi hailing mobile app. They work across 6 countries in Southeast Asia. All taxi hailing apps are really great for customers because they offer you convenience when you need it the most. The only difference is Grab Taxi is nothing like its competitors because Grab Taxi's mission is driver welfare. They have a fund called Grab Life. It's a $3 million fund where they look after these drivers and give them life insurance, crisis support, educational tools. Most recently, Grab Taxi has tied up with Apple and has built an international coalition, and they're planning to beat Uber. But the point of this corporation is that they're so focused on providing welfare for their employees, and it's so central to their mission that they build trust not only with their employees, but with their consumers at large. So they show their humanity by caring about something else other than the bottom line. I'm Indian, I have to have Indian examples. So this guy, His name is Ritesh Agarwal. He became an entrepreneur at the very young age of 18. At 21, he founded this company. It's called Oyo Rooms. What Oyo Rooms does in India and in Malaysia is that it works with independent budget hotels, and it promises its consumers a predictable quality of room and service at every Oyo hotel. His company was 4 years old, valued at $225 million US, and every business magazine in India and in Asia and often in Silicon Valley hailed him as the greatest thing in the startup ecosystem. Till his company blew up. They couldn't deliver the predictable quality that they promised. So the premise of the company fell. And there was a social media outrage when consumers started feeling like, hey, this is not what we paid for. We're getting a really poor quality experience with you guys. He did something which I thought was very human and inspiring. This young guy, who was about 24 at the time, he took 100% responsibility for everything that went wrong with his company and his partners. And on social media, he addressed every single one of his detractors. He humbly admitted all his mistakes, and he and his team put out a plan for how they're going to fix the problems and reported progress at every step of the way. And something really amazing has happened. As you would expect, media, consumers at large, and even his worst detractors are saying, you know what, it's all right, we'll give you another chance and you can make it up to us. So by demonstrating humanity, he's actually managed to save his company. The third way in which you can build trust is actually quite interesting. Address the thorny issues that your consumers are facing. Globally, something really interesting is happening. People are discarding their age-old beliefs and constructing brand new ones. And in doing so, they're defining age-old traditions. And this is especially true when you think of Asia and the patriarchal traditional societies that we all come from. And modern young people in Asia, in India, in China, in Southeast Asia, we expect brands to help champion our cause and our new beliefs and our new lifestyle and our new values. And when they do so, they get an extraordinary amount of attention, and we buy from them and we trust them. Because I've been warned to limit my presentation to 30 minutes, I've cut down on one example, but I'm going to show you one, which is again from India, and it's really interesting. I don't know about you guys, but in India, the men don't help out with the housework. Absolutely not. Is that the case here? No. Oh, how lucky. Can I move here? Who do I need to speak to about a visa? So in India, men don't do anything at home, right? It's very annoying. They're mama's boys, all of them. And it irks all us women. We hate it. So here's what Ariel, which is a laundry detergent brand from Procter & Gamble, they decided to address this problem, right? And they said, hey, we're going to do something. So they devised a campaign called Share the Load. It's largely a digital campaign. Now this campaign has won every single award you can think of globally in advertising festivals and digital festivals, and it's huge. But the most important impact that it's had is that it's started a real conversation in India, in a traditional patriarchal society, about gender roles and the roles that men and women play. So this video is subtitled, and it's great. I'm sure you love it. Yes.
मेरी छोटी सी गुड़िया कितनी बड़ी हो गई, घर घर खेलती थी, अब घर संभालती है, ऑफिस संभालती है. I am so proud and I am so sorry. Sorry कि ये सब तुम्हें अकेले करना पड़ता है. Sorry कि जब तुम घर घर खेलती थी तो मैंने तुम्हें रोका नहीं. ये नहीं कहा कि ये सिर्फ तुम्हारा काम नहीं है, तुम्हारे हस्बैंड का भी है. पर कहता भी कैसे है? मैंने भी तो कभी तुम्हारी मम्मी की हेल्प नहीं की, और तुमने जो देखा वही सीखा. तुम्हारे हस्बैंड ने भी बचपन में यही देखा होगा. घर घर खेलते वक्त वो टीवी देखने की या न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने की एक्टिंग करता होगा, और तुम जैसी कोई छोटी सी लड़की चाय बनाने की एक्टिंग करती होगी। उसके डैड की तरफ से सॉरी, तुम्हारे डैड की तरफ से सॉरी, और हर उस डैड की तरफ से सॉरी जिसने कई कई सालों से एक गलत एग्जाम्पल सेट किया। पर अभी भी देर नहीं हुई। इस सॉरी के साथ मैं अपनी तरफ से एक छोटी सी कोशिश करूंगा कि घर के काम में मम्मी की हेल्प करूं। किचन का किंग ना बन पाऊं तो कम से कम लॉन्ड्री में तो हाथ बटाऊं। इतने साल एक गलत एग्जाम्पल सेट किया है, आप कुछ सही कर जाओ। तुम्हारा पापा।
Awesome. I'm so happy you like that. It hasn't changed much. Men are still not doing the laundry, but at least we have started the conversation. You know, I think influencer marketing is very, very important because influencer marketing taps into your brand's superfans, people who have trust and passion into your brand. And they reach out to other people and tell them how much they love your brand. And in a world of peer recommendation, where 83% of us buy a category or buy a brand because our peers recommended it, it's a really important thing. And I want to share with you an example which is very close to my heart about how we used influencer marketing in the role that I had in another lifetime 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and how we managed to use influencer marketing to build trust. As was shared in the introduction, I was the head of digital marketing for a company called Bharti Airtel. It's India's largest telecom company and the world's third largest. We had two problems. The first, absolutely no one in the whole wide world wants to talk to their telecom service provider, not a single person, unless it's to tell us how awful we are, how our service sucks, our network sucks, you got overcharged, blah, 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 I hate you, I wish I never met, you know, etc. So our engagement levels were through the roof. We had a lot of people talking about us, but it was 100% negative. So that was problem number one, and it was a problem that I had to solve. The second problem was that we had all these interesting sponsorships. We sponsored Manchester United, we sponsored, music, and one of our most prominent sponsorships was that we were the title sponsor of the Indian Grand Prix, the F1, right? And we said, how do we find a way to leverage these two things? Can we make some magic out of this? So what we did was quite simple. We looked at data downloads from our network, and we have a network of 200 million consumers, so we found a lot of people. We looked at those guys. We looked at who's interested in F1 as a sport. We looked at our consumers. We looked at their social influence scores, and we created a pool of influencers or collaborators. And what we did was we created a digital ecosystem for them. We created a mobile app, which was an F1 Airtel mobile app. We created branded content. We created an editorial calendar, a huge content marketing push. And we gave them access. I don't know if they're F1 fans here, but we gave them access to Schumacher and Nico Rosberg. Now, if you're an F1 guy, that's a huge deal, right? So we created this entire ecosystem, and we handed this ecosystem to our influencers and let them run with it. And the results were absolutely astounding. In 8 weeks, we built the world's largest F1 community, and it stayed that way for the next 1 year. And the most interesting thing was, within this very large community, the sentiment for brand Airtel, a telecom provider, was 80% positive. It's a program that I love, I'm very proud of, and it was a tremendous success. That brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope I've got you to think about trust, and as you go back to all your wonderful jobs or your education, I would like you to think of two things, right? When you're designing a marketing program, two questions that you must ask yourself. Why does my brand matter, and who'll miss it if it was gone? The answers to these two questions will surprise you. If you have any questions, any comments, please do use the hashtag, which I see not a lot of people are using. Please do get in touch with me using the hashtag, or I'm also available on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and I love to connect with you guys. And thank you very much for your time and your attention, and have a wonderful afternoon.